Alright guys, with Elden Ring's Shadow the Erdtree DLC, much closer than it was a while back, and we are all preparing for bosses that are likely going to be even crazier than the base game. So I figured I'd just go through a little bit of helpful attack dodges for certain bosses that will help you conserve stamina and even sometimes help you get damage in while dodging an attack. That could come very much in handy when you're trying to, like I said, conserve stamina, get that damage in, and just know where your save points are. Now for Margit, the first major boss, as you can see with this move, it's very simple to just run right under it, and you can get a nice charged R2 and maybe an extra charged R2 in there right afterwards before having to move and create distance. This uppercut swing that he does, anytime that you see him idling, you don't want to approach him because he will likely use this move. So what you want to do is bait it out and then just simply walk around his back, and you can get a nice punisher to it. This move, his million-year delay wind-up, you can dodge this in two different ways. One is just circling behind him to his back left leg and wailing on him while he takes forever to do it. The other one is utilizing attack dodges to get damage in while dodging the move from a distance. Now if you watch my character, when I see him gear that move up, I move close to him and then back off, because if you're too close to him, he's going to just do the regular swipe and kill you. So you want to kind of move back away from him so it triggers the long distance version of the move, which you can charge up an R2 and immediately charge another R2 after that, dodging both attacks. Now these attack dodges, there are a lot of them in Elden Ring and throughout the series, but I think a lot more in Elden Ring, and that probably just comes from all the build variety, the weapon variety. But any type of weapons that'll get your character's hurt box low enough, which is a lot of hammers, fist weapons, even your bare fists, will get your character low enough to dodge quite an amount of attacks in this game. You can bait this combo that Margit does by doing exactly what I do here. Walk away from the first, walk back into bait the second. Now the second one has a very short hitbox, so you want to go kind of closer to him than you would think. You can test around and mess around with the distance. That'll trigger his third follow-up, which you walk back away from, and then for the fourth one, you just circle around him and get some punishes in. Now you can see, if you get too far while baiting that short hitboxed second follow-up, you'll see what happens here, and he can go into another move. Now one weapon I mentioned that is great for these attack dodges are the Iron Balls or the Star Fist, which both got huge buffs a little bit while back, which makes them excellent for level 1 plus 0 weapon runs. Hate the fact that you always gotta run away from his hammer jump. All you have to do is hit him with an R1 right before he leaps into the air and move a few steps, and he will miss you completely, which you can punish right afterwards. This is probably his hardest move here, especially for no-roll runs, his hammer swing. Now you can delay yourself for about a second before circling around his left side, your right side, and it'll miss you completely. But the uneven terrain in Margit's area makes this kind of inconsistent. It is much more consistent with Morgott, as he has a much more even terrain in his arena. Now the Tree Sentinel and pretty much every other horse boss in the game, you can pretty much strafe around the side of the horse for most attacks. This is a favorite strafe of mine. For his long running uppercut swing, you can run right in between his halberd and the horse's body to have it completely miss you. Now his shield bashes have a cooldown. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but you can see here when he does the jumping shield bash, there is no AoE, but when he does the giant jumping shield AoE, it's back right the next move. So easiest thing, just jump it. One of his moves that's hard to react to a little bit at first, when his horse just tries to headbutt you, but all you want to do, as you see here, is just walk right around the horse. Same thing for his shield attack here. You can do the same thing by just strafing around the side of the horse. Crucible Knight, there are like 16 of them or more in the game, and they were hell for most of us players on our first playthrough. Like most Souls and Elden Ring bosses, you can easily just strafe around them for most things. As you can see here, you can strafe around him for pretty much all his attacks, including his tail swipe in Phase 2. As long as you don't attack and stay at his side and wait for the tail swipe to begin, you'll see it pass through your character's body, because the hitbox isn't active at the very beginning of his tail swipe. When he jumps into the air for his wing and dive move, you basically just want to stay as close to him as possible and have him pass over you. For gap closing, there is a very cool attack dodge, this one right here, that you can do a quick R2 and it'll dodge under his thrust. And you can usually see this thrust coming because he usually does it from a distance after this first follow-up that you see. And if him turtling around his shield is getting annoying, you can usually just hit his shield and he'll go into his shield bash move. Now the Red Wolf Radagon is a really cool fight. For his lunging attack there, which either by itself or if he does his magic projectiles first, just run to the side for the projectiles, and as soon as he's coming close to you with the lunge, just run to his side. His jumping sword slam, I'm sure no one really needs to hear this, but you can just run towards him and know the distance after a few tries, and he'll land right in front of you, clean for you to punish. This move is probably the most baitable for this boss, and you can take real advantage of it. As soon as you see him do the leap, start running around his side and make sure you position yourself by his right foot, not directly behind him, because the second follow-up can clip you and kill you. So every time you see him do that lunge, guaranteed you can just strafe around him to his back right leg. He does a second swipe that misses you, and then he can even go into another swipe, and then his spin swipe, which will still be punishable while he's spinning out of there. Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Now this works for Golden Shade here. I'm not up to regular Godfrey in my level 1 plus 0 overall run, but it works for both of them. His opening axe throw, you can just run back to where the axe lands, charge up in R2, and just hit him as soon as he lands. This move here, you literally just have to keep strafing behind him, as he will often continue to do that same axe combo over and over again. For his foot smash AoEs, you can just jump over them, it's probably easiest, or if you're very precise and quick with the timing, you can just run behind his foot and miss it completely. Godric the Grafted has some cool ones. As you can see here, you can charge up in R2 as he's doing his axe drag, and it'll go right over you, leading for a punish, and probably a follow-up punish after that. As you can see there also, I'm using a war pick in one clip, I'm using the regular starting club as another, so that just shows there's a ton of weapons that can do these attack dodges. For his infamous wind attack, one of the easiest attacks to dodge in the game. I don't know why people were making such a big deal of this move when the game first dropped. As you see, you just literally wait for him to roll and just circle around him, and it'll miss every single time. You can also see on this no sprinting, no rolling kill that you don't even have to circle like that. You can just walk around in a semicircle and it'll also miss. This move is harder to get hit by than it is to not be hit by. Remember that Dragon Force song through the fire and the flames? For his flame attack, literally just run, or you can even just walk to his chest and it'll miss you every time. This 4 combo, you can bait it out, as you see me doing here. This is the second phase, so there's a lot more distance that you have to keep for the Dragon Arm, but it's the same combo he does in this first phase, and you can bait each part of that combo out to get a punish leading up to him doing his axe horizontal swing in the first phase. Do make a note though that it is worth getting used to those exact distances in phase 2 for that combo to bait, because where he would usually use the horizontal axe swing for the 4th part of that combo, in phase 2, since he has the Dragon Arm, he'll go into the flames towards the ground and immediately start shooting the fire straight at you, which again you can just walk right into his stomach. There's also a pretty fun and hilarious loop for Godric. As you can see here, if you backstab Godric, he will always go into the second half of that wind attack, and you can do this on level 1 with an unupgraded weapon with no talismans, which is this kill here. If you do a charged R2, charge R2 again and get him down, get a backstab, he will go right into the move again, so you can get an R2 in before he takes off, charge R2 when he gets back on the ground, and the third R2 will put him back into a stagger, and rinse, repeat, he's killed. Malenia, as divisive a boss as she is, she's actually pretty fair, aside from Waterfowl, which I think a lot of people have come to that realization pretty quickly after the game launched. Now for her fast triple flurries here, that you always have the visual cue of her prosthetic lighting up, all you have to do is crisscross with her and walk to the right, and it'll miss you every single time. You don't even have to sprint like I'm doing here, you can just walk and it'll still miss you. Her lunging horizontal swipe that she usually can open with, this move can be run right under, which is another thing that you see a lot in Dark Souls or Elden Ring, no roll kills, moves that you can just walk right under them that you wouldn't think you can. Now, infamous Waterfowl, most people know how to dodge this move in a dozen different ways at this point, but this is a fun way to get a punish in at the same time. As you see, I always try to keep distance away from Malenia just so I can see when she's about to hop into the air, and I'll be a good distance away to just run away for the first 2. And when you see her about to do the third flurry, since you're running in the first place, you want to turn around and do an R1 running attack. That's very important. It can't just be a regular R1. You have to be running, then hit R1 for an R1 running attack, and it'll hit her during the third flurry of the attack. Her jump thrust is a very tricky move to dodge without rolling, but what you want to do is walk away from the attack when she's gearing up for it, and right when she's about to come at you, walk to the side, and it'll miss you completely. The same thing goes for her grab. You can just walk to the side of it and it'll always miss you. Her Scarlet Aeonia Bomb, most people know how to deal with this. Most people I see don't even roll for this move anyway, but depending on where she is, it is a little different with her tracking. In the beginning of phase 2, her scripted beginning, always you can just walk under it and to the side. Be careful because there is a patch on the ground there, as you can see my character get stuck on it. That could happen, and it has led to a death or two, so just keep that in mind. You can see for this Aeonia bomb, where I'm a lot further away from her, as soon as she's about to hit the ground, I just turn the camera and turn myself around. It'll also miss you there. And finally, for her clone attack in phase 2, pretty easy to dodge. This all goes back to what I said, that you always want to keep your distance a bit from Malenia for circumstances such as waterfowl or the clone attack. But as you can see here, when she starts off with it, you just start running straight back. After the 4th clone, you want to turn not directly to the right, but to the right and angled backwards towards where Malenia is, and the rest of the clones and herself will miss you completely. So alright guys, those are some cool Elden Ring boss dodges or attack dodges that you can use to hopefully prepare for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Hopefully we get it super soon. I'm excited. But I hope that helps, guys. Let me know if you'd like to see another video on this, on some other bosses, other cool attack dodges and cool dodges that you can get in on some of these bosses. And if you enjoyed any of this or learned something, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. It definitely helps a small channel. Be safe out there, fellow Tarnished.